Madam Clerk.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was made as required, indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Municipal Building at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, December 12, 2023.
We could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation by Councilman Jim Vessanella. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Let us take the next few moments of silence to each seek in our own way whatever sources of inspiration will grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. And may we all residents of Franklin, have a joyous and safe holiday season. And as we embark on a new year, may the hate, bigotry, and violence that plagues our entire world be replaced by love, tolerance, and peace. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yeah.
Councilmember Potosnik.
Present.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Here.
Councilwoman Udine.
Here.
Councilman Vassanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
We are up to item number 5 on the agenda. Copies of the agenda can be found next to the clerk. We are commendations and proclamations. Certificate of Recognition 2023 Township Restaurant Week, participating restaurants. Safi.
Have to hold it down until it turns green.
Look at that. I work for IT. Hello, Mr. Mayor. So today we're presenting the certificate of commendation to the restaurants that were involved in Restaurant Week. At various times throughout the year, restaurants around the nation select a week that they're going to highlight their culinary prowess to new and potential customers. So with scores of cuisines within our borders, we thought it was high time that Franklin did so as well. So I noted that Franklin Township is one of the most diverse municipalities in New Jersey. Nowhere is that reflected more than in its food. So with dozens of nations represented and a wide array of culinary landscape, Franklin Township embarked on their first Restaurant Week, giving customers the opportunity to eat globally right here in Franklin Township. So in other words, they got to experience global eats in local seats. So Philip Kramer, the mayor of Franklin Township in the county of Somerset and the state of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council and all the residents of the Township of Franklin, hereby extends the following restaurants appreciation and commendation for their participation in the inaugural Franklin Township Restaurant Week. The week was held October 8th through the 14th, and the Township of Franklin offers their heartfelt thanks to all of them for sharing their time, taste, and talent for this event. So the restaurants are as follows: Bam Desserts, Bella Roma, Briani and Curry Corner, Cafe Alfredo's, Confectionately Yours, EU's Catering Co., Fast Bagel, IHOP in Franklin Park, Jersey Cyclone Brewing, Joyce Creamery and Bubble Tea, KBG Korean Barbecue and Grill, King's Pizzeria, Lulu's Nutrition, Masala Bay, Nopal Taqueria Moderna, Osaka Ramen, Sonic Drive-In, Sunrise Creek Bagels and Deli, 2020, and last but not least, Uncle Tank's. We had 20 restaurants. We call them the Tasty 20 throughout. This is our first Restaurant Week, and we hope for many, many more. Thank you. Would you like all of our restaurants?
I would like to congratulate the participants. My wife and I partook in the activities. They were delicious, and I hope we can do this many more times. Deputy Mayor, you're up for Diwali commendations.
How's everyone today? Good, good, good. Yeah, so you may have visited our Diwali celebration this year, October 21st in Franklin High School. We had over 1,000 residents came over. We had a lot of fun that day, long programs, good food, festivities. I think we couldn't have done it with very dedicated volunteers. A lot of our 24 of our youth volunteers made it happen. It's great to see our young people come out and get involved in the community activities like this. So we wanted to encourage and keep that community spirit going. So I have a certificate of commendation for all of them. I don't know how many. I think it's easier just to pick out the person that is here. Were you here for the? Well, okay, all right. Is there anybody else from Diwali volunteer group here that I have the commendation? All right, maybe they didn't get the memo, but but I will make sure that I hand this over to the young people. And thank you very much, and enjoy the festivities again next year.
I too was at Diwali, the Diwali celebration, and I didn't realize how important it was till I was there. When I saw the people there, there was not just one ethnicity there. There were all the ethnicities of Franklin there. And that's the pleasure of Franklin, the joy of Franklin, is that we get to share with each other what we bring to the country. So it was not a celebration for just one ethnicity. It was a celebration for all of us. Environmental Commission Stewardship Awards. Sarah? Paul? Paul's going to do it on his own?
The Environmental Commission each year looks for organizations and people that we can honor for doing the best for the environment here in Franklin Township. And this year we've chosen the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. Franklin Township and the Franklin Township Environmental Commission are proud to join forces with the Watershed Partnership. The LRWP gathers information, prioritizes stewardship and advocacy to clean up the polluted waters and lands of the Raritan River and her watershed. They work to enhance habitat and biodiversity in our region and improve the overall health of the Lower Raritan watershed ecosystem. The Environmental Commission enthusiastically supports the entire work of the partnership. And we have a plaque that we're going to give to Heather. Why don't you come up? And her husband, Alex, who's on the board. And the plaque reads, Franklin Township Environmental Commission to 2023 Environmental Stewardship Award presented to the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership in recognition of outstanding efforts of environmental stewardship, November 2023. That's when the plaque was made. That's when we voted, actually. Okay. Bill? Oh.
So Ed Potasnik, council member, I just want to congratulate you on your work. I got a chance to participate a number of years. I know Councilman Chase, you have as well. A lot of volunteers from the town cleaning up our backyard to make sure that pollution is not going into our rivers. You do a stellar job. It's not easy. There's a lot of materials there that sometimes are unsafe, and we have to be, recognize that. And they do a great job in training and also making sure everyone is appreciated with donuts and coffee and gloves and all those important things, and really feel like they're having an impact on their community, and they are. So thank you for your continued support of our efforts and keeping us motivated and helping us to deliver that kind of improvement in our community.
Thanks really to Franklin Township for stepping up to the plate in terms of getting the word out, for volunteer support and stewardship. Franklin Township just turns out the numbers when we do cleanups. And I mean, you all should be so proud of yourselves for that. We have had dozens, if not almost 100 people at some cleanups pulling out dozens, if not hundreds of, for example, skid load tractor tires, which are not light. And many thanks to residents of Franklin Township for helping us keep our waterways clean, for your visionary work around stormwater basin retrofits. We just did a field trip tour with folks from around the state to look at the wonderful sort of guiding light stewardship work you're doing here locally. And just thank you so much for really prioritizing doing the right thing around the environment. So to the EC, to the council, and to the earth, thank you so much. So.
Councilwoman Pruitt, would you honor us with your presence? So this is Crystal's, Councilwoman Pruitt's, last council meeting of this year, because we don't know what the future may bring. But whereas the Township of Franklin is benefited by citizens who contribute their time, talent, and skills for the betterment of our community, and whereas Crystal Pruitt has served the community of Franklin Township, Somerset County, as Councilwoman at Large from January 22nd, 2019 through December 31st, 2023, as Deputy Mayor from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. And whereas in connection to her tenure on the Township Council, Crystal served on the various boards and committees, including the following: Economic Development, Administration, Financial Oversight, Public Safety, Community Foundation, Board of Education, Township Council Joint Subcommittee, Advisory Board of Health, Hamilton Street Advisory Board, Senior Citizen Advisory Board, Youth Service Commission Alliance Against Drug Abuse, and Fire Prevention Board, and she was also on the Ad Hoc Energy Aggregation Committee. Whereas in serving these various boards and committees is merely a small indication of Crystal's dedication to her community and its residents, and her desires and efforts to keep Franklin Township a home in which all can be proud. Now, therefore, we, the Township Council of the Township of Franklin and the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the residents, do hereby thank and commend Crystal Pruitt for her devotion and dedication to her community and its residents. And it is signed by all members of Council. There's a lot of work on Council that a lot of people aren't aware of. Besides all the meetings and the reading of the agenda and the various things that you see us vote on, we're invited to many events, and we're out there with the constituents a lot. So she has shown great dedication. I have no doubt that we will hear from her again. That's why I'm not saying this is her last council meeting. She will move mountains, and we present to you this plaque.
So I'm actually glad it had the date on it, because I was trying to remember when I was appointed, because I appointed in Chanel's last year. That 2018 or 20? Anne Marie, when did I start?
Said it in the,
2018 is when I was appointed, and then 2019 is when I won.
elected.
Okay, good, because that's what I put in the comments. So if y'all indulge me, my last, I guess, council comments for now. As I look back over the total 5 years that I've served on council, I can say without exaggeration, we've been through a lot, y'all. When I was sworn in to fill in Chanel Robinson's unexpired term, I had just turned 32, so shout out to late birthdays. I was a new chief of staff in the state legislature, and from then on, I was off on this grand journey of personal and professional growth, right here in this room, right there on that dais. Together, you and I, and all of you, weathered controversy, a global pandemic, a social justice reckoning that continues to this day, and several unfortunate international conflicts that would have packed us here at home. These are events that probably normally happen over 5 terms of someone's political career, and it happened within my 5. Through it all, the long nights, the tears, the highs, the frustrations, the lows, and the many wins, it has been an honor to serve you all and to serve with you all. As I look back on my time, I couldn't help but think about who I was when I first started and who I am right now. What mistakes I may have made, what things I'm proud of, what things I look back and wish I did better. But I have not come across one thing that I've regretted. And now I'm going to cry. So as I transition off of council, I've thought of just a few lessons that I've learned, and perhaps these will be helpful to those who may come after, and even my current colleagues, as they continue their work of service. Be kind to others and to yourself. We may disagree, we may argue, but never forget the dignity and humanity of all of us and all of our residents. And when the responsibility and the burden feels really heavy, don't forget your own humanity and give yourself grace. You will make mistakes, and a bunch of people are going to yell at you. And sometimes that sucks, but it doesn't diminish your value, and it doesn't diminish theirs. Doing the right thing is hard, is my next one. If it was easy, it would already be done. A lot of times, doing what is right can be lonely and solitary, but it's necessary. And that's why you ran, and that's why you serve. And I argue it's more important to be right and to do the honorable and moral thing than it is to be popular and to be well-liked. Because sometimes the best measure of your leadership is who hates you. And if you're ever in a moment where you're wondering or you're struggling with what to do, remember to always do what's right. It's the most important thing you can ever do. My third lesson and thing I learned is don't forget to laugh. Find humor and laugh when you can, because that's how you're going to survive. And last, never lose the wonder and never lose the why. It's easy to fall into patterns and complacency, but never stop pushing the envelope or thinking outside of the box. Challenge conventions, and sometimes it'll go nowhere, but sometimes it might. Challenge the status quo, and strive for the best of yourself as well as the best of the community, because stress creates growth. There are things I will carry with me and challenge myself well after my nameplate is gone and my name is out of the lobby. I have grown so much because of you all and this experience. And it's one that I will cherish for the rest of my days. To make the decision not to run again was one that was incredibly difficult, but it was the most responsible. As I undertake the largest scale clean energy project in the state currently, developing the project I'm working on will deliver at least 1,500 megawatts of clean energy to the state, with a portfolio to deliver possibly over 5 gigawatts, which is millions upon millions of houses. And it's resulted in me having to take a step back from serving locally so I can be in service of the state and be in service of something bigger than myself. And I promise this isn't a shameless plug for Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind, which it might be, but rather I want to frame why I had to make this decision and why I made this choice and why I'm stepping away. I'm focusing on something that's even bigger, that'll hopefully make our state and the world a greener place, and hopefully make you all proud of me, because you'll look out and see this wind farm and know that a girl from Franklin did that, that a golden warrior was involved. And I hope that when the timing is right and the circumstances allow, with even more experience, with even more growth, you'll give me the chance to once again have the honor to serve you all. It has been 5 years, but the memories and the experience and the respect and love that I have for all of you and this town will last 5 lifetimes. Thank you to all who have guided me on this journey and those that have supported me and given me kind words and helpful criticisms, because we're not all perfect. And lastly, thank you all for allowing me the privilege of serving you. It has been a complete honor. Thank you. And I love a standing ovation. Thank you so much.
Don't go nowhere. I want that picture. Don't go nowhere. I mean, if my other council members don't want one, I want one. You know. That's okay. You and I will.
That's a call for everybody.
Oh, now everybody want to get up. You know what I mean? Oh, gee. No, stand over here.
I was just asking.
Wait a little bit. Wait a little bit. You know what I'm saying, baby?
Okay. We're on to public discussion, even though the podium's facing the wrong way.
Sorry about that.
Do we have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We're open to the public. Anyone may come up and speak about anything to do with government. 5 minutes a person, no yielding of time, may only come up once. Please state your name and address. Councilman Chase, I'll give you the honor of going first if you'd like. Okay.
Debbie Stewart, 2 Farrington Plaza. I'm reflecting how many times I've come to this council meeting and ended up in tears. That was congratulations to everybody. But really, there are so many emotional topics that get brought up here. So I'm going to settle down. And I know last week there were some questions. You have the ordinance about the acquired development rights coming up, but I'm not sure the timing of the question, so I'm just going to, if you could explain a little bit. I know Mr. Vornlacher told us a little bit about that last time. So I'm getting the impression that this particular parcel, I think what you said is owned by the person, but you buy the rights, so he still owns it. So when I drive around the township, I'll see preserved farmland. Am I done? No. Okay. Yes. So, and then when I see some signs, I think, can I go in there and walk around? But maybe that's still owned by. So if you could tell me the difference between the open space and the preserved, and what that particular parcel and others might be zoned. So you're, if I'm understanding correctly, you're giving them some money so they don't sell to a developer of some kind. No. So, please, yes, I appreciate it. Also, I was wondering, is, like, last night I had to call the police because there was a abandoned car on the side of Schoolhouse. So I called, and I kept getting put on hold, and then somebody come back in, and I'd repeat my question, and I was wondering if they're understaffed at the desk, if they're, okay, so you can answer that one, too. Let's see, what was, oh, darn it, I know I'm gonna, okay, well, I guess it's mainly those things, and I'll hold the rest for next time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening.
Got to speak really close to the mic.
Okay, now it should be fine. Should fine. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kramer, Mayor Deputy Mayor Ram, council members. I'm here from 23 Princeton Highlands Boulevard. I am Prabhakar Jha, and I'm here representing my community members who are with me. A lot of community members are here. And first of all, I want to, I have my best wishes for Councilwoman Crystal. Thanks for all your services. And like Deputy Mayor Ram said about the Diwali, so I'm a new resident in this community, Franklin Township, and I got a joy of participating, and it was awesome. So thank you for giving that opportunity and having all the support. One issue that I wanted to raise or follow up was regarding the traffic light at the intersection of Princeton Highlands Boulevard and Route 27, along with a pedestrian signal request at Gold Star and Route 27. So I was here along with few other residents a couple of months back, maybe 2 months back or so, and I was told by the council and requested that our association, that's homeowner associations, who send a formal request to the township and Department of Transportation with the formal saying about the request, like what's the need, because that will expedite the process. So I'm here to follow up based on that. Our HOA president, Mr. Shubhendu, couldn't be here, but he had shared the letter that he had sent to the Department of Transportation and the council, and I wanted to read that letter. I will have time with that. It was to Department of Transportation and the Council. Attention, Megal Fackler, Director, Division of Traffic Engineering, James Oplinger, to Director of Community Relations, and it was from Mr. Shubhendu. He was writing the letter on behalf of the community. So over the years, the HOA and our township have received numerous requests for improved pedestrian safety across Route 27. There are 75 to 100 commuters in our community who walk across Route 27 to use transportation to New York City during weekdays. Also, there are seniors who routinely walk to CVS to pick up their medications. As of now, there is no pedestrian crossing from Gold Star Avenue across Route 27 for our residents to be able to do that. Additionally, we have received numerous requests for a traffic signal at the intersection of Route 27 and Princeton Highlands Boulevard, Alston Road, so our residents can safely make a left turn onto the state road without risking a crash from oncoming traffic. Please note that our residents have had near misses at the intersection on many occasions, and we feel that without preventive measures, a crash is imminent. Our township mayor and our council have heard these issues directly from our residents and are supportive of improving pedestrian and traffic safety. We also understand the 25% electrical cost sharing, etc., but that may be needed to support their effort. Your prompt attention to our pedestrian flashing crosswalk and the traffic signal will be greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Shubhendu Singh, President HOA, Princeton Highlands. In our community group, I additionally want to highlight in the WhatsApp chat and other community communication chats that daily we see many incidents which has been highlighted, like someone yelling while taking a left, near message, especially with the kids and seniors. We do have something on Bunker Hill, but that's too far for the residents who are actually on the other side. It's a large community of around 400 residents, 400 plus homes. Residents are around 700 to 800, I believe. So I will highly request the community and the council to have us the status of the traffic signal and pedestrian signal.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Samina Sitar. I'm a resident at 18 Barbieri Court, Franklin Township. I wanted to thank the council for the resolution that was drafted that we've seen, 490, the Peace and Unity Resolution. I spoke at our last meeting about my personal stories and stories of other people across the country who've been facing Islamophobic incidents. And so I really appreciate that the council took the time to put this together to speak out against hate and against bigotry. So thank you. I think we could have maybe done a little bit extra, and in this time and place, we could have been more specific about the kinds of hate and bigotry that we are standing up for. So I would encourage you to maybe consider adding Islamophobia and anti-Semitism to the specific kinds of hate and bigotry that in this day we don't tolerate. And I think it does send a specific message to people about the things that we stand up for, and I think it is necessary to be specific. I also wanted to respond to something that we had discussed in the last meeting as well about calling for a ceasefire, and I think there was a feeling here that this is something that's not it's not about the U.S. and it's not domestic and it's foreign, and I disagree. Our state and our townships and our country are providing material support to foreign governments. And so I think we do have a place and a scope to speak to that. But I understand that we feel like we're, a small entity and we don't have a role. But I think that we all feel like we do have a role in this democracy and to speak out against things when we see that things are not right. And so I feel like that was my place in asking for this council to speak in support of a ceasefire. But I just wanted to share that thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny's Tips, 25 Parkside. I hate to come up behind the young lady there. I watch CNN. I'm a CNN freak, so when everybody talks about the ceasefire. Crystal, you're a beautiful girl. I ain't never seen you. I hope you should look like this. You look now on all them other days, man. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to see you go, sweetheart, and thank you for your services that you gave here. Mr. Lawyer, sir. Mr. Benon, is it against the law for anybody in this building to hack people's phones, private citizens' phones? Is it against the law for anybody to hack your phones? It is?
So we answer the questions afterwards.
I'll answer them later. Sorry.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Say what now? What did you say, Mayor?
We answer the questions after public session. The council and members up here answer the questions.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. First of all, but then I would like to know, I would like to think, because they're all being hacked by your boys next door. I want to congratulate the council for all the winners of the last election. I'm sorry I wasn't here the last time to tell you guys congratulations to each one of you guys for the election. It was well ran, it was well done, and I'm proud of it. Regardless of what Bob Warlock might say, Carl Wright, or what the mayor might say, the citizens down in the 4th Ward want some speed bumps on Mark Street. We're going to demand it, and since you are a councilman, we hope that you give us some speed bumps. You know what I mean? I'm sure that the rest of the council would agree that we needed that bad before the child gets killed. Okay? It's the second time, you know. I want you to understand that, Kimberly. You know, the kid's going to get killed. I'm going to blame you guys for the murder.
Which street?
On Mark Street.
Mark Street.
Right up now. And I want to thank the Public Works Department and Bo and them. They did a wonderful job in the park. They redid the park. They redid the garden. And we have another garden to do. I'm about the Sustainable Garden Commission with Ted Chase and Nazik. And that's going to come up. We're going to wait till January to have another meeting. Then we're going to have another big meeting, you know, after that. But we're on it. We're on it right now. And the lady, Ms. Constance Parker, another lady from Pine Grove School, I've been talking to them about the whole thing, okay? All right. Bumps. Oh, and I wasn't here during the whole time. I talked to some people. They've never heard of you not building no warehouses in your community. Warehouses mean industry. Industry means jobs. I'm trying to train 1,000 guys how to work in industry, and you taking the warehouses and industry and not letting the building industry in town. I've never heard of any town be living off of taxes. Don't industry lower your taxes? Canal Walk and all of them should be glad that you have built warehouses. We're all against it. We want more warehouses. And any time you build any more apartments in Franklin Township down in the inner city, don't build no more. There's enough. There's enough. If anybody builds anything else in this community, you tell them to hire the people that's standing around them while they're building apartments, to help them build it, to give them some jobs. People building brand new $1 million apartments, and they standing next to a guy that's homeless and won't even give him a job or nothing. Demand the call, right? Demand that everybody builds anything in this township, that the guys down you know what I'm talking about, right around the corner from you. Demand that they get a job and work there. We're going to try to train everybody in Franklin Township for a job. You're going to be shared the things that you're doing now for this year, for 2034, Mr. Mayor. We hope that you share all the young men be able to work and be productive citizens. Now, hopefully, through Kimberly and through the youth programs, you know, you stopped it at 16. We're talking about from 17 to 24. The at-risk youth, which the center was supposed to be built for in the first place. Okay? And you know that. Yeah, I know, Bob. You know that. All right? And my last thing is peace and love and bigotry and hate will not reside in Franklin Township. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Shamim. I'm a resident of Franklin Township, and I'm a teacher by profession. I'm teaching in Cedar Hill Grove School, which is on the Cedar Grove Lane. I'm here to express my support for Resolution 23490, calling for peace and unity in Franklin Township and the rejection of hate and bigotry. I encourage all town council members to approve and adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Meher Rafiq, 13 Spring Street in Somerset. Respected Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and all council members. I'm here to support the Resolution 23490 calling for peace and unity in Franklin. This is a step in the right direction. It was my hope that we could have been a little bit more specific to the current events and included words such as anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. I'm a proud resident of this community of Franklin for 39 years, and our elected officials, our neighbors, and fellow residents have always stood up against hatred in any form. Whenever and wherever I can, when my fellow Jewish sisters and brothers were hurt in the awful attack at the Pittsburgh Synagogue a number of years ago, I became a part of the Sisterhood of Salam Shaloms, fully and apologetically, and stood against anti-Semitism and the senseless loss of life. When my African American sisters and brothers raised their voices for Black Lives Matter movement, I stood with them in solidarity and used whatever platform I had, including the Martin Luther King Foundation in our town, to unapologetically stand against hatred and senseless loss of innocent life. I have a simple and respectful question as a member of this community who has always looked at how to help neighbors, my neighbors, and look beyond the familiar society-defined swimming lanes. Why is it so hard to say we stand against hate against Muslim community and Islamophobia? What is holding us back from speaking these words unapologetically, as I have on so many occasions to support what's right against hatred? Let us all ask this question. What is holding us back? Let's push the envelope a little further. Thank you very much.
Zafar Mahmood, 269 Bennett's Lane, Somerset. I've been a Franklin Township resident for 37 years. I'm here to speak in support of the Resolution 490, in support of peace and unity in Franklin and rejection of hate and bigotry. I encourage you all to adopt and approve this resolution. I also want to thank the council members for all that you do for our township and community. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Teresa Hendrickson, 29 Labette Drive in Somerset. I'm just following up on the request that I had to have cleanup done on JFK Boulevard with the weeds that were sky high and no one's taken care of them in over, I think, about a year or so. It's still that way, and I think last time I was here, it was about maybe 2 months ago, the request I put in was supposed to be taken care of by Somerset County, I believe, and you had suggested that you put a call into them, but it's still not done, and it still looks terrible. So ones that somebody's trying to sell their home in this area really gives a bad impression and also drives prices down too. But I was just wondering if I could get an update on that. Thank you.
Mike Hampton, 319 Schilling Drive, Somerset. Just real brief. I just want to know the council members' openness to potentially creating a commission to directly address the concerns and the food crisis going on in town. Over the last 2 months, we've had the director of the food bank, the assistant director of the food bank, numerous members of the town that live in a certain area of the town that have brought up the fact that, please, if I could hear you speaking while I speak, I feel like that's kind of rude. But my thing is, if it's an issue, I'd like to see it addressed. We have a lot of commissions. I've looked at them. None of the commissions directly address the food crisis. The food bank's in need of money. One potential solution, which is probably going to be unpopular, but the open space fund is currently, a nickel per 100? If we decided to potentially split that in half, according to the website, the open space fund brings in about $5 million revenue per year. If they took $2.5 million, they could still secure enough open space. It wouldn't cost the town individuals any more money because it's already coming out anyway, regardless. And then you could potentially fund food initiatives and the food bank at around $2 to $2.5 million per year, every year. I just think if the new report came out, if you look on the Board of Education website about Franklin High School and the new U.S. News rankings, and it talks about the fact that 40% around of the student population is receiving free lunch or reduced, but the reduced is like 6%. So around 34% of kids at school are receiving free lunch. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 750 students. This is just at the high school. And if all those students are coming from a household, I can only imagine if they can't afford, whatever the cost of school lunch is, it was $2 when I was there, then they're also probably struggling in other financial areas and getting food at home. I know we've heard you all talk about the youth center. Even the town manager brought up the fact of maybe one day in the future being able to cook meals for some of those kids, and that's a great idea, but a way for that money to be consistent without it having to burden, more money out of the taxpayers. And if you look at the breakdown from our food bank, the majority of money that they get anyway comes from individual donations. So I don't think there would be many people in the town that would be against perhaps reallocating a portion. It doesn't have to be 2.5% or 2.5 of that 5, but whatever it may be, I just think we're spending a lot of money on purchasing open space, not everyone necessarily in the town being clear on exactly what the purchases of those lands or development rights are. And it's a lot of money. And throughout the summer, we heard about how the town doesn't have a lot of money for certain things, I guess, but we've figured out a way to keep bringing in money for that particular purpose, but how is that open space being used? How are the farms being used? And I think if we do address the food crisis, we can figure out a way to put money back into the farms that are producing crops locally to make sure that we're purchasing from them in order for folks to purchase at maybe a discounted price or something. But I'm just curious to the openness on that, or just in general what the plan is to address the food crisis that's going on in America, New Jersey, and especially in Franklin. And that's just based on the data that comes out from our own town, just from looking on the website. So, thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Sir.
Well, let's see, 13 Republic Row. I just want to report, based on the last comments, that Canal Work ran a food drive this weekend for the food bank, and we gathered $5,100 and a couple hundred pounds of food. We did the same thing in July. We also support the youth center with a couple $1,000s a year so that they can do a dinner once a month for all the youth to use it. So we're helping if we can, and we support the food bank as much as we can.
Anyone else?
Mayor, seeing no one else come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public portion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public session is closed. Address public comments and questions. I'll take on the warehouse questions. Last week, or last council meeting, Bill Connell asked, how much money are all these warehouses saving in people's taxes? So I took a stab at it, and it's not even a back of the envelope calculation. I really did the calculation on a Post-it this big, because to do a thorough one would be extremely difficult, at least time-consuming. But what I did is we have a list of all the warehouses since 2018 that have applied. I assumed every one of them was built, including B9, for the purposes of the calculation. I looked at various warehouses, and I saw that they're valued at roughly $170 per square foot. So I took the total square footage of all of them and came out with that amount. I calculated adding that to the assessment, so I'm basically assuming the land was of negligible value before it turned into a warehouse. That's not a good assumption, but to do otherwise, I'd have to go each property by each property. That would be very difficult. So rule of thumb there. And the calculations I did ignore that open space and library tax are per 100. They're not divided out, they're not, the rest, municipal taxes, for instance, school taxes, county taxes, the boards set the amount that they want to collect, and then that's split up amongst the town. So if there's more warehouses, then the amount that each individual pays is smaller because the warehouses are taking that up. That's not true of open space tax and library tax, but they're a relatively small portion of the tax. So when I did all that, I came out with, the number that I came out with was roughly $800 a year for the average home. I would at least put a bracket around that of $700 to $900, but it could even be as low as $400 a year. But it's hundreds of dollars of savings if all of those warehouses were built and occupied and running. Right now, I think only 4 or 5 of them are actually up and running, so we haven't realized that yet. But that's a rough stab at it. As far as the amount of jobs that warehouses create, if you take, it's between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet of warehouse will give 1,500 and 3,000 square feet of warehouse produces a job. If you take that to the number of square feet of warehouses, that creates 3,900 jobs. I'm not sure Franklin could fill 3,900 jobs for all the warehouses. So I think they're going to have to go outside of Franklin to get some of those jobs. The B9 accounted for about 120, by its square footage would be 120 jobs. So I don't think we hurt the job market significantly by turning down B9. I appreciate the comments about the resolution that we're going to vote on later. I appreciate that some people disagree with the stance I took, and I appreciate that that was done civilly and politely, and I recognize your viewpoint. Anyone want to tackle any of the others of these? You have many, but we'll give Councilor Craig first. Okay, fine. Mr. Manager, wait, Mr. Renown, you had a question about it.
I think I answered the question. Hacking somebody's cell phone is illegal, so context of the question, but.
Okay. Mr. Manager.
Wait, before Bob jumps into it, do you mind?
Oh, yeah, I was asking for counsel.
So I think to the resident, just so you can hear it from my mouth, that I stand against anti-Semitism. I stand against Islamophobia. Proudly will say that I stand against those things. I was very upfront about Black Lives Matter movement, obviously, as a black woman, but I stand against those forms of hate, and I stand against anyone who uses them to strike fear in anyone's life. It's hard just existing, and no one needs that. So for your, I heard you, and I wanted to say that on the record. Second, more generally speaking, to comments about my appearance, is that I always look good. So for the record. So just wanted to add that. And then back to you, Bob.
I just wanted.
No, I was saying, so Councilmember Potosnik is going to address a portion.
Mr. Vornlacher, sorry.
Sorry.
Another
I was trying to click under this fast enough.
I'm more than happy to wait. Just
Sorry.
He has something to.
Thank you. I couldn't agree with Councilwoman Pruitt on this subject. I've always
stood up, and I empower anyone if you feel that you're being hated on, or folks are using hateful comments or wording. I empower you to speak up and stand against it. Have always stood up with my Black sisters, brothers for their Black Lives Matter movement, and I am against Islamophobia as well. So I just want to make sure I'm very clear about how my opinion and how I stand in this. Thank you.
Anyone else other than Mr. Vornlacher?
I was going to comment on the food security.
I was saying he has something to say. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
So I'm really happy to hear folks thinking more about food security. And, I've served for 7 years on the school board. Free and reduced lunch, as well as adding a breakfast program, is critical, as the numbers bear out. There are a lot of families that are struggling to provide food, and you can't learn without food, and that's an issue. That's one piece, right, for the students. It doesn't really deal with folks at home, and it doesn't deal with the other 190 days of the year, which is problematic. So Sammy Shaban, who's on the school board, and myself chair something called FISC, which is Food Insecurity and Safety Coalition, and it's been meeting fairly regularly now since the summer. And the folks that are part of that, I think in a similar vein to setting up a task force or a committee or commission, include Mr. Vornlacher representing the township, the superintendent of schools, John Ravalli. In addition, a representative from the police, Sean Hebron, and the list goes on, faith leaders, community members, and interested organizations. And what's apparent is everyone's doing a little something, and there might be an opportunity to coordinate a little bit. So I'll just give you one highlight from an early meeting where it was like the food bank is struggling a little bit to get food out, because they have limited hours and access, and getting to the food bank can be limiting. But schools have lots of facilities throughout. So could there be a rotating schedule or something like that, or municipal buildings? And every time we've identified really big problems that are sort of thorny and difficult, we've also identified problems that have pretty quick solutions and could be done fairly easily now that folks are aware. So I want to commend the township manager in the area of, like, there's, giving food or providing money to buy food, important, but there's also growing your own food. And in a town with a really agrarian or agricultural background and numerous open spaces throughout the community, how we can open those up more for community gardens is an opportunity. And we've talked about that in the Agricultural Committee, which I'm a liaison. We've also talked about it on the Open Space Committee, the Environmental Committee, and there are some spaces that are already available. I know Mr. Tibbs had been working in Neiman Williams on a parcel, as well at Pine Grove School. But the problem has been in the township, which was awesome, Mr. Vornlacher mentioned. How do we maintain that? How do we give out spots or plots, make sure folks are cleaning up on time, they know the rules, et cetera, and manage all that? It's been up to volunteers, but it hasn't been centralized. Each one's been separate, which makes it hard. So we asked for a volunteer, and Reverend Dante Quick, who is over at Lincoln Gardens First Baptist, stepped up and said that, no? Oh, Reverend Powell. Oh, I got that wrong. That's what happens when you read the minutes.
Another church involved.
I thought it was Dante. Okay, anyway. Reverend Powell stepped up to help organize that and be the conduit to do the registration, et cetera. So there is motion in that, so folks should rest assured. And if anyone's interested in getting more involved, I can talk to Sammy Shaban about that. So just, it is critical. And in this season in particular, it's important to remember those who have less. From Thanksgiving to now, people are more aware. Everyone should get a donation envelope. The best thing for the food bank really is money. They can leverage, and you probably heard this a lot, purchasing power, where it might cost you $1 for a can of soup, let's say, they can buy 10 cans for that price. So that $1 to them is much more powerful. So think about that when you're thinking about your holiday giving and providing for those that are less fortunate and are in need, and temporarily or permanently. And I'm proud to do that work. It's been a nice way for everyone to get together around a specific issue. So I could say more because we've had a lot of meetings, but that's just high level.
Any other council members?
I just want to add something to the distribution from the food bank. Ed, I think when I got to know about this issue, I made some calls to the temples around town. There are many of them, and a few of them are willing to participate in the food distribution, especially on the weekends when the schools are not open. So keep that in mind, and we'll be happy to help distribute them.
And that came up as well, so thank you.
Any other council member? Mr. Vornlocker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go backwards and from last to first here. As far as what the council member talked about, Fisk, I'm not going to talk about that part. What I will talk about is the Open Space Trust. The Open Space Trust was created by the Township of Franklin by referendum, and it's also created under New Jersey state law, and the usage of those funds can only be for certain purposes. Unfortunately, while it's an admirable idea, the Open Space Fund cannot be used for that purpose. It can only be used for certain things such as the acquisition of land, the maintenance of land, the preservation of historic sites, the installation of recreational equipment for active recreation or passive recreation. And there's a whole laundry list under the Green Acres regulations. If you Google Green Acres regulations, you'll find that all of them are, it'll come up like that, New Jersey Green Acres regulations, and it'll show you what that money can be used for. And unfortunately, it can't be used for the idea that you have, but certainly an admirable idea nonetheless. As far as the jug handle for JFK and Easton Avenue that the lady had asked about, yes, there she is. So I will certainly make a second request to the County Road Department. You can do it as well. If you go to the Somerset County website and go to the Road Department, and I'm actually on that website right now, I will tell you that you can submit a request electronically, just like you can submit one on our website for our township streets. Somerset County Roadway Complaints Inspection Form. If you click on that link, it brings you to a fillable form that you can then hit submit, and it will go right to the road department. You can also contact them, and if you have a pen, I will tell you their number is 908-541-5021. 908-541-5021. That is the Somerset County Road Division. Okay. So there's a request from Mr. Tibbs for speed bumps on Mark Street. I know that this sounds petty. I'm going to correct you slightly. Speed bumps don't go on public roads. Speed humps do. And that's by not only state law, but federal manual requirements. Humps are different than bumps, much longer, as opposed to short, like in a parking lot in your local shopping center. There is a process for speed humps. This creates a rather unique circumstance for the street that you recommend, Mr. Tibbs, in that most of the frontage along Mark Street belongs to the Township of Franklin in the name of Naaman Williams Park. So, Mr. Mayor, if I can just take some liberties here, I will have some discussions with the Traffic Safety Bureau and the Police Department about that particular street because it goes through Parkside and it goes past our park and not very many other resident. John, now it's my turn. You had yours. All right, so I will take the liberties of speaking with the Police Department about that. As far as the traffic signal and pedestrian crossings on Route 27 near Princeton Highlands Boulevard and Gold Star, the generally accepted practice when a homeowners association makes a request for that to the DOT, because it's a roadway under DOT jurisdiction, is that if the DOT feels that that particular traffic signal or pedestrian crossing is permitted under the federal regulations for the state highway, because that's a federal aid highway, and they need to meet certain requirements as far as federal aid is concerned for them to receive federal aid for maintenance operations on the road. So if it meets federal aid requirements, then the next step that the DOT will take is to approach the municipality for support, as far as support is concerned. So there's not, the next step is on the DOT. The DOT has to come back to us and say, do you support this project? They're in their fact-finding stage right now. I know that that I've been copied on emails related to that from Megan at the DOT. So the next step will be for them to report back to us. Okay? Police staffing. Police staffing is fine. Understand that as someone who used to sit in that radio room and answer the telephones, a vehicle parked on the side of Schoolhouse Road is not going to be a high priority call, so they'll continue to put you on hold as the phone calls come in, and I'm sure that phone call that you made was sometime probably in the early evening hours. Nod yes or no? Yes, okay. So the early evening hours are probably the peak hours for police activity. That's when the most traffic incidents occur. That's when most people are getting home, maybe calling the police. So they're going to continue to put you on hold. Usually at any time in the communication center, there's 2 to 3 dispatchers plus 1 to 2 supervisors in the desk officers area. There's more than ample people to answer the calls, but they're pretty good at juggling, and they're going to continue to put you off while they take calls to determine whether that incoming call is an emergency. So I'm not concerned about the staffing and communications. Farmland versus open space. Now, I'm going to use farmland preserved as a catch-all phrase, but just because a property is farmland preserved doesn't necessarily mean that it's being farmed. We use that terminology when a farm is preserved, or we also often will say we've purchased the development rights. That's what I spoke about at the last council meeting. There's a number of properties in Franklin Township where Franklin Township, Somerset County, or the state of New Jersey have acquired the development rights to a piece of property. The owner of that property continues to own it. The owner can sell it to anyone that they want to sell it to. However, nothing can be developed on that property. It can only, so there's the farm or the open space. I mean, oftentimes it's not an active farm. It can just be a large parcel of property that the owner says to the township or the county or the state, I want to sell the right for me or any future owners to develop this property and maintain it as open space, but I want to continue to own it. That's farmland preserved open or land preservation. We have our land preservation consultant here today to talk later. That's her job, is to negotiate those acquisitions. Open space is when we purchase the property, or the property is donated to the town, or it's preserved by a land conservancy. There's a lot of different ways that open space is acquired, but in that case, some entity, state, county, township, land conservancy, or any number of nonprofits that might own the property and have the deed has been restricted, and it will always be open space and can't be conveyed for some other purpose. So that's what open space is. Generally speaking, open space is open to the public. I say generally speaking because there are certain circumstances, either because of some natural hazard or some of our open space properties, likewise some of the county and state open space properties here in Franklin Township, are leased to farmers. Agricultural pursuits are one of those things that the Green Acres regulations permit. So if it's leased to a farmer, obviously people aren't allowed to go traipse through the farm crops, but there's still some limited access to the property. But on farmland preserved, there is no access permitted. That's the difference in the signs that you'll see. I think I got them all, Mr. Mayor.
I think so. Okay, we are on to item number 8, council comments and reports. Mr. Wright, you seem chomping at the bit.
Mr. Mayor, we're going to be good and quick here. UEZ zone, urban enterprise zone. What I'd like the council to do is authorize this ad hoc committee group, which would consist of Councilman Potasnik and our Deputy Mayor Ram and yours truly, to look at ways to better do ourselves as far as helping the community go and do things like taxes and stuff like that. But I'll let our counselor explain that, who will be spearheading the group. Mr. Raynon? Get out the way. Get out. Mr. Raynon, if you will.
I think, Councilman Wright and I had a conversation this morning. I think he's looking for the committee to work with me and ultimately really to work with Assemblyman Danielson's office because this would require an amendment to the state law that designates the UEZ zones. So I think it's a matter of sitting down with Joe Danielson's office and, getting from him what information we need to gather so that he can make the case.
I know he can explain it better than me. That's about it, really. Have a safe and joyous holiday. Remember, don't drink and drive. Our police force is out looking for you. Literally, they're looking for you. Traffic stops will be out there, random. So remember, don't drink and drive. And also, because marijuana is out there, you can buy it, do whatever. Don't smoke and drive. It's the same thing. Accidents will happen. Lives will be lost. So again, drinking and smoking in any combination will kill you and others. So please, don't do it. Oh, one more thing. You're leaving us. I'm heartbroken. I won't be able to look at you anymore. I know. It's okay. Nah, get out of here. Get out of here.
Councilwoman Shipoudine.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just got out of Public Works meeting, and we are looking at 2024 roads that needs to get paved. More information on those as we narrow down and look at the grading of roads. For this year, I believe we are done paving. We are, when it gets colder, it's harder for our DPW to go out there and have the vendors pave. So all the latest roads that have been paved thus far are all loaded online. If you go to our Franklin Township website, you'll see the listing of the roads that have been completed for 2023, and as we start for spring of 2024, they will start getting posted online. And as always, and I will remind as we get closer to next year, is when you see anything on the roads that are potholes or damage or street sign issues or overgrown, something like the tree branches are covering street signs, please let us know. You can just take a picture or submit that request online. It's really simple, and it logs a ticket for our Public Works team to go out there and fix the issue. Apart from that, I, just similar to what I did in Canal Walk 2 weeks ago, I did another session of Connect with Councilman series in Somerset Run. And we had a pretty good turnout there, met with really nice people, and we had pizza for lunch there and understood their concerns. We brainstormed some ideas for next year, and they had some general questions similar to Canal Walk. So I have those written down, and I promise I'll get them your way. I just trying to connect the both meetings and try to create one minutes, and I will submit that. I know folks are waiting to hear back on some of their concerns and questions. Apart from that, I know a lot of us will be out taking leaves, so I want to wish everyone happy holidays, safe holidays, and we'll be back here next year. I believe this is the last council meeting till January. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, the next council meeting will be January 2nd. Councilman Vasanella.
So I have a few things to report on. I attended the Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, which handles a lot of our affordable housing needs and home buying workshops. They had their yearly planning meeting on the board, and for a lot of reasons, including the cost of housing, it's going to be a very busy year for that nonprofit in 2024, but they're well suited to handle it. We had the Public Works meeting, as Councilwoman Udine mentioned. More to come on that. One item that is on the agenda tonight that kind of involves Public Works, and I was discussing with the director this evening the rollout time-wise of it, and that has to do with on the agenda tonight. The resolution is the last, what probably is the last phase of lighting at our baseball complex, also referred to as our Little League fields. Over the last 15 years, we've been slowly improving that whole facility and making it, let's just say, up to date and structurally sound and ready to host all the baseball enthusiasts and youth in our town. The light project is the last of what is, I think, a 3-phase project or 4-phase project. It's the last and biggest field they have there. It's slated to go in the spring. They're working out the details with PSE&G and awarding electrical contract. So with little luck, it will be there in the spring for the children to utilize for the entire spring and fall season. They have 2 seasons. I'm going to read something. Whoops, just give me a moment. Just don't take it out of context. We again revised the plan that was expected to be submitted to federal highway officials this week and will be aired at a public meeting in June or July. It calls for a left turn lane and a traffic signal at DeMont Lane, a jug handle across from the present one at JFK Boulevard, and a second jug handle at Willow Avenue. A center median will separate the 4-lane highway from JFK to Willow Avenue. The remainder of the Wyndham County Road to Route 287 will consist of 5 lanes with a center lane for left turns. You're probably saying, what in the heck are you talking about? Well, ironically, I just happened to stumble upon a Somerset Spectator from early 1974, which is now 50 years ago. Wow. So, ironically, we are now doing, 50 years later, what some of you may remember out there happened 50 years ago when a lot of what you see on Eastern Avenue was either was in the works, in construction, or slated to be built, the commercial properties. The bottom line is this was a federal project, which some of the things that I mentioned never happened. Some of them did. Some of them people still mad about, didn't happen, etc. Well, as some of you may know, or be confused by, there's 2 projects right now. They're both federal. One is going to probably transform the way the corridor looks and works. But whatever comes of that study, without going into detail, the shovels won't be in the ground until 2031, obviously 7 years from now. The other, which is a federal project, meaning funded by federal funds, is the one that was on display here last week. It's the intersection improvements of DeMont and Easton intersection and rebuilding new pathway from Willow to what's referred to as the Taco Bell jug handle. That project, also on its long federal timeline, but that's just the way big federal investment and dollars work, shovels will be in the ground early 27. So just to give you an idea, that one was started, I remember, being talked about and planned a few years back, 3-4 years ago. Now it will actually happen in 2027. So not to get confused, they're related but different. Related by they all have to do with Easton Avenue. One obviously in a few years, one several years later. In the meanwhile, myself and others are always looking, and actually probably in January we'll present at a public meeting what is kind of referred to as the low-hanging fruit, small, lesser expensive initiatives that we can ask the county to do to both improve the flow of traffic, the safety, and the maintenance. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach, all related, but all very separate as far as who controls it, who funds it, and how long it will take. So I don't know if that helps. There's more information online. I think they're still taking survey commentary about the bigger one that won't happen for many years. The one that was on display here last week, I think they like the comments, appreciate people coming. I think they may have another presentation before they wrap that up, but they take input from the public and sometimes tweak the plan accordingly. I spoke to the people that were doing it, and they take very serious the commentary and sometimes adjust the plan accordingly. Just wanted to give a little clarity because people have been asking for it concerning the Easton Avenue. But again, it doesn't mean that everything has to wait that long. Little things I will be pursuing, and others, if you have any ideas, pass them along to myself, the manager, or any council person. Okay, real quickly, congrats to Crystal on her tenure. I know you're on. I don't want to say bigger and better things because I think there's nothing better than serving as a council person, but in all seriousness, I know you're involved in things that will affect the welfare of a lot more people than just in Franklin. So I give you credit for taking on the projects that you have so far and the ones that I know you're involved with now. But the work you did here was of great help, and I got a feeling some of the things you're doing now will indirectly or directly come back to help Franklin residents along with a lot of other people in the state. So I just wanted to say thank you about that. And as I mentioned in the comments earlier, in the invocation, have a joyous, safe holiday season. And obviously there's been way too much hate and intolerance and violence in this world. And as I mentioned earlier, it would be great. Some of that could be replaced with tolerance, with love, with harmony, and most importantly, with peace. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. 1974, that's about 5 years before our township attorney. Councilmember Potasnik.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start off just thanking Councilwoman Crystal Pruitt for her service, for her dedicated leadership to the community. I think one of the things that stands out to me is the voice that she brings for folks that aren't either engaged or feel like their voice is not relevant or unavailable or not at the table. And it's something that I admire in the clarity you bring to those conversations. And I think all of us appreciate and will miss. And on a professional and also personal note in the environmental space, I have a deep admiration and appreciation from the work you're doing in the wind space. Offshore wind has become ridiculously a controversial topic, but it is critical for New Jersey to reduce air pollution and improve public health, to save our oceans themselves from acidification because the temperatures are rising and the ocean ecosystems are collapsing, like the coral bleaching, and then also create good local jobs. And your work, I know, is demanding. She crisscrosses the state and across the nation to advance the project against these headwinds. But yeah, it is pun intended, actually. But just know that, wind will save lives, and you are part of that. And I think your Franklin story, the fact that you went to the schools here and continue to serve on council, is not lost on me. And I just want to give you best wishes and continued success in that, and that we'll miss you here, and there's deep appreciation. To my residents and friends at the Princeton Highlands, and I know it was mentioned, I want to emphasize again, I know it's far-ish, half a mile maybe from the furthest house, but definitely use the Bunker Hill exits on Summerfield and I guess it's Woodfield Court to to come onto Bunker Hill, make a right, and make the left. No one should be getting in accidents. I mean, that's totally avoidable with a little extra time and patience while they're considering the request. As much as we can do to promote that in the community, that's really critical. I know it takes a little extra time. I lived over near New Brunswick off Home Street, and certain times a day I could go to home in Hamilton and make a left. It was no problem. And I knew those times of day, 11 o'clock, midnight. But if it was traffic time, I went down the side street, Jefferson, and I made a left onto Highland, and I waited at the light. It took me extra time, but I lived. That's important. Let's emphasize that. I think it's critical while they're considering. And yeah, happy holidays to everyone, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Onyechaka.
First of all, Mayor, let me use the opportunity to thank you.
Go into the mic.
Yeah, put on the record.
Start again.
Start again.
Okay. I want to use this privilege to let Crystal know that it has been nice working with her as a council person. And I know, no doubt, I know the future will be brighter than what. Thank you on that. Second, I really want to appreciate and show appreciation to the job being done in Edward, expanding the road and also painting it. It makes the road more safer now, and it looks better. And as we approach the holiday season, Portray is already in a festive mode. Good. See, they are in a festive mode. Same time, everywhere looks clean. Good. Yes, and I want to use this opportunity to wish everyone happy holidays. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. The hour, Councilwoman Pruitt.
Not too much to report. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I was hoping that I would have senior advisory for my senior watching. Honor to serve as your council liaison. Unfortunately, the meeting was canceled, so I won't be able to. On the record, it's been a pleasure. And have a happy and safe holiday season. Be with your loved ones. Can't be with the family that birthed you. Be with the family that took you in. And thank you so much. Oh, and also shout out to Bam and Ferrer yesterday for Somerset County Business Partnership. Township attorney, there's no ethical reason once I'm off council that they can't send me. Correct. So just putting it out there. So congratulations to them. A little chocolate, a little chocolate.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with Councilwoman Crystal Pruitt. She brings so much professionalism, and she's such a rising star. She has done so much for the interaction amongst us here in the council. Her level of professionalism has been interwoven into our interactions as a governing body, and you will definitely be missed. I'll miss the fact that I can't sit here and give you mints and gum and have our sidebar conversations.
Pocket gum.
I'm going to miss you a lot. She's my little sister, everybody. But she really is a rising star. She's done a lot for our township. She's done a lot for this governing body. I've learned a lot from her as well. So I wish you all the best. I know she has a very, very demanding job, and because of that, she needs to leave us. And I know what it's like to have a demanding job. But I know whatever you choose to do in your future endeavors, you will be the best there is in anything you do in the future. I love you, and I'm going to miss you. Best wishes for you. And the other thing I wanted to say is that there is going to be a holiday party at the Youth Center on December 17th from 3 to 7 for our youth. We're going Have fun, games, food. Anytime we have anything at the youth center, we have to have food. We recognize that there is food insecurity for our youth, and we do a lot daily to feed them when they're there at the center. And happy holidays to all. God bless. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Embarrasson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, congrats to Crystal on getting selected as one of the top 40 under 40 by the Somerset County Business Partnership. I was there with her and to celebrate and participate in the joyous occasion. She is a rock star. We are going to miss you. All right. Well, Johnny Tips is not here. Crystal or an Indian sari outfit we brought from India at her request at the Diwali celebration. And Johnny, if you're listening to us, my wife said she looked like an Indian princess. So we are going to miss you. Thank you for all your work. And I remember campaigning with you in 2019. That was a lot of fun. I got to know you a lot. One thing I must say, you are passionate as to what you think and what you feel and you express, and that always impressed me. And may your good work continue at the state level for the benefit of the wind power industry and the state at large. Congratulations. Other than that, I have some routine meetings that I went to, including the planning board, L'Oreal had an application which we criticized and we critiqued and sent it back for more improvements to make sure they address the concerns of the citizens that are in the closer neighborhood of the warehouse they're proposing to build. I think they'll be back next year. We had our first 3D printing class by RVCC on December 1st. And I think that's a 3-day class that'll end on the 15th. 23 people registered, but only about 11 showed up. But it's a start. We are going to keep trying. I met with the president at the under 40 award ceremony, and he assured me that there's going to be more programs that they would host at the Consulata, both workforce training programs as well as college-level credit programs. So that's a good thing for Franklin. Let's see. Well, there was a grand opening on Hamilton Street, one of the businesses, Part to Play, as indoor golf facility. We all participated with the mayor was there. So like I'll always say that let's support our local businesses. We're all very happy for more than, I guess them joining more than 2,500 of Franklin's businesses. So we welcome them. And HRC is going to meet tomorrow. Good friend Michelle Peterson, I saw her earlier, I think she left. She is going to talk about Seeing Eye Dog Mission. If you don't know what that is, that's the guard dogs that blind folks get around. So she's going to make a presentation about that at the HRC. And there's going to be a couple of openings at the HRC coming up into 2024. So I encourage anybody listening, watching us, please, if you're interested, do submit your citizen leadership form with our clerk. Consider it, and sorry I couldn't attend. Gary, the chairman, HRC's chairman, is here. We couldn't participate in the menorah lighting ceremony today because of our council meeting is at the same. But happy Hanukkah. The closest thing to Festival of Lights, which we celebrate as Hindus, Diwali. Other than that, I just want to make a comment about the resolution, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. I'm 100% against it. I have many Muslim brothers and sisters in the country and elsewhere. I stand against any violence against them, as well as my son-in-law is Jewish, so I got to be supportive, and I'm against anti-Semitism as well. In fact, when Floyd murder took place in Minnesota, we were one of the first people against it. We stood with the black brothers and sisters in those occasions where such injustice and intolerance happens elsewhere in the country. We are against all sorts of violence against any community. I just wanted to leave it at that, and happy holidays. Be safe out there. As for me, I'm on my next international trip to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam tomorrow, so I will see you in the new year.
Thank you. Hard to play, as the deputy mayor mentioned. New business with indoor computer golf. If you play golf, you should stop there at least once and see what they have. It's pretty amazing, and it can give you a chance to golf when the weather's not so good. Councilwoman, as I said before, we're going to hear from you again. There is no doubt about that, and we're on to great things, and we look forward to hearing what you're going to do. Happy holidays to everyone, as I said at the tree lighting. Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, Saturna, Festivus, whatever you're celebrating, celebrate them all. Celebrate, if you're Jewish, celebrate Christmas as well as Hanukkah. Celebrate them all. We have that, and we have that diversity in town. Let it be a part of you. This is a time that we need for sharing. And then the last thing I want to get to is I want to thank the deputy mayor for his service. This is his last meeting as deputy mayor. I want to very much thank him for helping me with weddings. He did roughly half of the weddings, which was great, makes it easier for me, and keeps us lively when we're doing the weddings. And he, as do I, all the money that we get $50 a wedding, but it's all donated to Second Chance for Animals. So we don't keep it. We give it to the guys over there, the dogs, the cats, the frogs, the lizards, that are being kept there because they need our help. I think that's it. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. So I was listening to Councilwoman Udin's report on the Public Works Committee meeting tonight, and I chuckled a little bit, Councilwoman. It's really never too cold for our Public Works Department. They work around the year, cold, warm, hot, and all in between. Asphalt plants shut down right around this time of the year because of the cold weather and the inability to pave properly. That's why we don't pave through the winter. But our Public Works guys, and gals, they're out there year round. To Councilman Vassinella's comments about the lights at the Little League complex, just wanted to emphasize that those lights are being paid for with a grant that was obtained through Assemblyman Danielson's office, just as a reminder that that was a grant that we received.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to thank our recreation staff, in particular Myra Jimenez. I'm tongue-twisted today. Myra Jimenez, who is our special events coordinator for our holiday tree lighting ceremony that took place on Friday of this past week. And really what I wanted to talk about as far as that night was concerned is that, as many of you know, Our holiday tree that has been planted outside in our municipal complex since the renovation work was done in our municipal complex back in the early 1990s, met its demise over the past probably 18 months to 2 years, and was removed about 2 weeks ago. You might notice that there is a tree out there, and I want to tell you about that tree. That tree is a Norwegian spruce. That tree was donated to the township by a business that has recently located here in Franklin Township in the Little Rocky Hills section, Joseph's Landscaping and Lawn Care. The owner of Joseph's Landscape, Joseph, by the way, is friends with several members of our fire prevention office, and he spoke with several of them, and the tree was then dug up from his tree farm in Monroe and donated to the township. They did all of the planting and the mulching around the tree, and the fire prevention department union is the FMBA, Firemen's Mutual Benevolent Association. They will be working to donate equipment for a seating area and paver area outside where the tree is now located to kind of dress it up in the spring. So thank you to Joseph's Landscaping for donation of the tree. It was a rather significant donation that the township very much appreciates. And that's what I have for you, other than everyone should have a happy holiday. And Councilwoman Pruitt, it's always a pleasure, and I know that you will never throw my phone number away, and you know wherever you need me, I will be there for you. Directly to me, always. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm wondering, because people are here specifically for this resolution, if anyone wants to move to amend the agenda to hear the resolution 23-490 now.
I'll motion to move that.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion or objections? Yes, we can do this by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. I'm presenting Resolution 23-490, Peace, Unity, and Rejection of Hate and Bigotry. Do we have a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Perhaps Councilwoman Udine would like to read the resolution.
Yes. Whereas the Township of Franklin represents a diverse community with residents from numerous races, ethnicities, and religious groups, and whereas there has been an alarming increase of bias incidents across the United States, and some community members have expressed fear of bias incidents because of their faith, and whereas this council is committed to support peaceful coexistence among the diverse community members and rejects any form of hate and bigotry, and whereas many in Franklin, and specifically every member of this council, has taken a pledge to stand up for the other, which reads, while interacting with members of my own faith or ethnic or gender community or with others, if I hear hateful comments from anyone about members of any other community, I pledge to stand up for the other and speak up to challenge bigotry in any form. And whereas the council wishes to remind the community members about the pledge and requests every member of the community to stand up for the other. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, Somerset County, New Jersey, has zero tolerance for any form of hate, bigotry, and discrimination of any kind against any race, religion, nationality, ethnicity, gender, or persons, and is committed to uniting the Franklin community and ensuring everyone feels respected and valued, and asks all residents to respect one another despite our differences and reject any form of hate and bigotry and wishes peace and harmony prevail around the world.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Botasnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Thank you. Getting back to the signed agenda, council discussion items, local health assessment and action plan report. Yay! Except the one we need.
Bob Vornlocker showed me how to turn on the mic, so. Good evening. I'm just going to ask that you excuse my back for just a moment so we can go over the local health assessment and action plan. First and foremost, I want to thank the Township Manager, Bob Vornlocker, and the Mayor, Phil Kramer, and of course the Township Council for allowing us to present today. I wanted just to note that this local health assessment is the work of 2 years worth of work that we've done just with the goal of building a healthier Franklin Township. We're hoping by the end of this we'll give you an overview of what we learned and what we can achieve as a township. I will say that the original plan is 150 pages. That's not what we'll be going over tonight. We have a very, very, very abbreviated version of it. Just in an effort to kind of give you this quick overview and allow you to understand what people within your township are facing. So my name is Safi Callan. I'm the Special Projects Manager for the Township of Franklin. I will hand it over to my colleague.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Tara Kenyon. I am the Land Preservation and Management Consultant and the Sustainability Consultant for Franklin. And as Safi mentioned, we've worked closely with Sustainable Jersey and together on this project for a long time, but we're super proud of it and we're excited to share it with you tonight.
I do want to just quickly explain that for this local health assessment, Sustainable Jersey had provided a technical assistance grant, and what that means is basically that if we needed assistance on how to run a health assessment, they gave us guidance on creating a steering committee, engaging stakeholders on the health assessment, reviewing data, things like that. So Laura Skoronsky, who is from Sustainable Jersey, was our main contact person, and she and Melanie McDermott helped put together a lot of the survey and gave us a guide of how to do it. Laura Korzakowski, which was the intern that worked for Sustainable Jersey, also helped us with a lot of the in-person community outreach that we needed to do.
So Safi kind of mentioned before that the full report, which is called the Local Health Assessment and Action Plan, which we're abbreviating to LHAAP, is over 150 pages. It contains a lot of data, over 20,000 data points that we analyzed from various sources. We are doing a very abbreviated presentation to you tonight, so you can kind of get the highlights. But we encourage everyone to review the report, which will be posted on the website by the end of the month. And there's a lot of information in there that really is important and exciting, and we're just trying to kind of give you some highlights tonight to start. Okay, so what is the local health assessment and action plan? So basically, the assessment identifies and assesses the existing conditions in Franklin Township that contribute to health. We have paid in the plan, we've paid special attention to land use, zoning, all under the focus of achieving health equity, and we're going to talk about what that is as we move forward. The action plan is after we completed the assessment and identified what are the existing conditions, the action plan really identifies programs, projects, and policies that the township can implement or work on to get us towards that goal of health equity across the entirety of the township. The benefits of doing this plan are that we can actually come up with some actionable items that can be implemented by various committees, commissions, boards across the township, as well as our staff. We'll be able to understand what impacts are on different parts of the township and how we can kind of balance that out moving forward. And the data that's within the plan really provides a lot of foundational information for other master plan updates, policies the township might want to undertake, and other major projects. So it really can be used in many, many different ways.
So at its core, this project is really about understanding and achieving health equity for Franklin Township. So while I'm not the biggest fan of reading directly from the slide, I think it should be noted that health equity dictates a fair and just opportunity for people to obtain their optimal health. And there's factors that may impact all other aspects of your life, but that should not be a barrier, a risk to the outcomes of achieving health equity. It also should be noted that equality and equity are not the same thing. If everyone gets the same resources, regardless of what they actually need, that's equality, but that does not put us on a level playing field with each other. Whereas equity ensures that resources are distributed in a community based on what is needed for everyone to thrive. And that's the key here, everyone thriving.
So in February of 2022, Franklin Township received the technical assistance grant from Sustainable Jersey to complete the LHAAP. Franklin was the only township that received this technical assistance grant in 2022. And the technical assistance, I'll say, from Sustainable Jersey, just to kind of give them a shout out, was amazing, and it made it so much easier to do this project. They provided templates, guidance, they attended meetings with us, they did trainings with our steering committee, so Sustainable Jersey really made the project simple for the most part with their assistance. So we want to just quickly go through how this was completed. So it's really separated into 3 phases, and we call them learning, understanding, and doing. Sustainable Jersey really came up with the steps for how to do it, but the first step is to establish a steering committee, which we did by putting together members of our existing boards, commissions, and committees. We then went through a lot of statistical and demographical data to come up with the assessment portion of the project. We gathered input from the community through a community survey and focus groups, which we're going to talk about in more detail later. We then analyzed all of the data and categorized that into what's called social determinants of health. And this really kind of helps us understand what are the factors that contribute to health in different portions of our township. We then use the findings of the assessment to provide recommendations for projects, programs, and policies moving forward, which is the action plan. One side note, so Woodbridge Township and Princeton are the other 2 townships that have completed this type of plan. What we've done differently than them, and Sustainable Jersey thinks was a good idea and we think is a great idea, is we combined the action plan with the assessment. So a lot of times they're done as 2 separate standalone documents. We took a little extra time and put them together so that the user can see why are we recommending these projects and really have access to everything. And the last step is what we're doing now, which is presenting to you, and we're going to be sharing the final plan at the end of the month.
Okay, so one of the first steps in doing this was having the community complete a community survey. We have up here that it is 15 questions which provide critical information, which is true, but the 15 questions looked a little different. So this is actually a copy of the survey. It's 2 legal-sized pages long, and while there are only 15 questions, there's about 100 responses that are needed on these surveys. So people that fill them out either really, really loved Franklin or really, really loved surveys. I like to think it was a little bit of both. We made sure that when we were doing community outreach, one of the big sayings that we often go by is that sometimes you need to meet the client where they are. So we went to where people were. You'll notice on here that we were at the fireworks. We were at Franklin Day Festival, National Night Out. We went to Week of the People. We were at several back-to-school nights. We had displays in the lobby here. We had displays in the Community Senior Center. I believe we actually also had displays in the Youth Center. We had it hosted on the Township website. We did QR codes on freestanding displays, just so if you happen to be at a Township event and didn't want to stand by me the whole time tethered to my table doing the event, you could do it on your phone as you walked around and enjoyed the event there. So we were looking to make it as easy as possible for people to give us the answers that we needed in order to move forward with this. No one comes to a community event and says, wow, I really want to fill out that health survey, but they did so in droves, and we were thankful for it because we really needed the information. The other thing that it's important to note is that because of all of the questions that we asked, as Tara mentioned earlier, we ended up having over 20,000 data points that we evaluated everything from. In addition to the community surveys, we also did focus groups. Now, the focus groups, which were much smaller, had a different type of impact to them. So they tended to be we were allowed to take anywhere between 4 and 12 people. We were told by Sustainable Jersey that keeping them smaller was more important because what we were looking for here was anecdotal evidence about people's access to health. There was a lot of power in the narrative that we were given as opposed to just seeing data on a survey. Still important, but there's a difference between seeing checks on a survey and a person telling you that they're affected by loneliness, or a person telling you that mental health is not something that is valued in their community and they're looking for reasons to bring extra access because that's important. So we had advertisements that went through different communities. We, of course, had them online, in our paper, flyers that went to school events, things like that, all calling churches and things calling for focus groups. One of the things that we were also very mindful of is understanding that conversations tend to happen with people that are representative of you, that look like you, that have things in common with you. So for like certain church groups, we would have a parishioner lead a focus group. For the Parkside seniors, we had a fellow Parkside senior lead that group. And we did so in hopes to preserve some of the anonymity with people. Granted, you're giving your first name there, we see your faces, but you're not on record somewhere. So you're more open to sharing what your experiences are with others. And we just saw the importance of familiarity when doing that.
So the next portion,
Can we
we're
ask
going
questions?
I don't know, yeah. Questions, okay, or
Sure.
not sure? Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, they're okay.
So I heard you say you got 20,000 data points. How many surveys were filled out?
I think close to 300 surveys we did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just curious, did the budget allow for any scientific surveying, random sampling?
We don't have any budget.
Grant was a technical
Councilman,
assistant.
they didn't have a budget.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the grant. I'm sorry.
No, the grant was a
the grant
technical grant.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they would assist us if we called on them, but.
I got you. Okay. I thought
That's okay.
They didn't give us any money. Great job. Go ahead.
If you want to give a grant.
The next portion is a snapshot of Franklin Township. So a portion of doing the assessment is establishing a demographic profile. So this slide up here is just a few of the graphs from the demographic profile. And we just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what you'll see when you look at the full report. So in terms of a demographic profile only, looking at data from the census, the American Community Survey, the Department of Environmental Protection, Health and Human Services, and many more, we figured out the population density. We looked at educational attainment. We looked at race, median household income, disabilities by type, and this is categories from the census. There are many more things that we look at through the plan. We look at state crime reports. We look at state point-in-time homeless population information. We look at Somerset County's improvement plan. We look at the New Jersey flood mapper for information, and we basically took that and came up with this demographic profile, which really shows you information about what's going on in Franklin Township, and we did figure that out also by ward. So we have the information compared at the municipal level, county level, state level, and then we drilled it down to the ward level. So we have very detailed data. The demographic profile, just so you know, what I kind of talked about before, this is what it includes in the local health assessment and action plan. We are going to, in the next few slides, highlight population, age and average life expectancy, income, and reporting of disabilities. The others are important as well, but we figured for this, we would kind of just pick a few to discuss. Okay, so social determinants of health is how we move forward out of the demographic profile. So on the screen, you'll see the definition of social determinants of health, and it is conditions in the places where people live, learn, work, and play that affect a wide range of health and quality of life, risks, and outcomes. So these social determinants of health really also serve as predictors of what your health will be based on where you live. And factors that feed into that: housing, healthy food options, environment, open space and recreation, and much more.
So Franklin Township is not only diverse in terms of culture and color. We have areas of the township that are extremely affluent, right down to areas of the township that sit below the poverty line. So despite where you fall, socially, economically, in terms of race, terms of color, there are certain commonalities when discussing social determinants of health that we feel that people are asking everywhere. So can I go to my local park? Is it safe for me to go out at night? Am I generally well? Can I afford my groceries? Can I find an affordable place to live? So while these questions are noted and we wanted to highlight things that can be asked by all Franklinites. So your health risks and your outcomes may differ based on some of these multiple factors: socioeconomics, age, status, but most are concerned with safety, nutrition, quality of life. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about questions of equity and health.
So just kind of moving through this, we'll start off by talking about housing costs is one of the things we looked at. So housing costs, as we all know in New Jersey, are among the highest in the country. The median value of an owner-occupied house in Franklin Township is $383,700. This is a little lower than that of Somerset County, which is $470,500, and also a little bit lower than that of the median value in New Jersey, which is a little over $389,000. The average monthly rent in Franklin Township is $1,750 a month, which is similar, a little bit lower than that of Somerset County overall, but higher than that of New Jersey by quite a bit. The average monthly rent in New Jersey is about $1,400.
One of the most frequent comments throughout their surveys were a need for transportation within Franklin Township. A little under 70% of people drive alone to work, and that doesn't account for those that don't have access to a car. It also has indications for climate that are important to note as well.
The next thing to focus on is open space in Franklin Township. So in Franklin, we have about almost 9,000 acres of preserved open space within our borders, and that's preserved open space by the state, county, Township of Franklin, nonprofit entities. We have beautiful grassland preserves, trails, tennis courts, all types of active and passive recreation, woodlands. In all of Somerset County, Franklin has the highest number of preserved acres of any municipality in Somerset County. And we also have over 30 miles, which is nearly half of our trails are handicap accessible, which is a really great amenity and necessity to have in our township, because we want everyone to be able to use our open space, not only for their physical health, but for their mental health and social well-being. The next one is environmental features and conditions that affect health. So there are a lot of environmental features that also act as environmental services, basically I like to call them, for our residents. So adequate tree canopy reduces temperatures and leads to better air quality. Stormwater runoff and impervious coverage affect areas of the township that are more urbanized and have more impervious coverage overall. Emissions from motorized vehicles and buildings, contamination and contaminated sites, excessive temperatures is really important to start thinking about now. Any land preservation deficiencies, and then also buffering of adjacent land uses. Before we move on, just to show you quickly, the graphic here is important. It's from doing an iTrees assessment. And it shows that's our tree story for Franklin Township. And it's a really interesting graphic because it shows how much air is being cleaned by the trees that we have, how much canopy we have, and how do trees really also serve us in the township.
So one of the questions that we asked many of the people in Franklin was, does where you live impact your health? Of course it does. The factors outside that many of the not just Franklinites, but in general, that humans live with in order to achieve good health, there's a variety of factors, and that's what we talk about with the social determinants. In the next few slides, you're going to see some disparities that exist just within the several miles of the township. So we highlighted here the census tract data. It's just important to note that not all census tracts contain an entire ward. There are some census tracts that have 2 wards to them, some census tracts that are 1 ward alone. The 2 that we're highlighting right now are going to be wards 1 and 4. So one of the things that was somewhat shocking to us was the disparity in average life expectancy between those 2 wards, which are about 6 miles apart. So in Ward 1, the average life expectancy is 88.1 years, and then in Ward 4, 77.3 years. While the disparity is shocking, it's not unique. We did see some of these same differences of about a decade or so in Woodbridge and in Princeton, which were the other 2 larger municipalities that did the local health assessment.
So this chart here is in the final plan, and it really is a summary of the demographic data and the notable differences between wards 1 and 4. So if you go to the plan itself, you'll be able to really see those numbers and how they got there. We looked at population density, race, median age, income, people living below the poverty level, average household size, and we really looked at those differences between 1 and 4 and tried to figure out why might that be. So the items that are highlighted are items we're going to talk about just for the purposes of this presentation, but as I mentioned, you can review everything in the full plan.
Now we're going to go over some of our key findings and recommendations. Much like some of the other slides, the highlighted areas are the ones that we've done for the truncated presentation, but they are all diverse. So we are going to read through these just so there's an understanding of what the key findings are, and then we're going to kind of do a little bit of laser focus on 2, 8, and 10. So I'll just start. Franklinites are proud champions of diversity in the community. That was probably the top answer we got as far as why did you love living in Franklin? What did you like best of living in Franklin? We saw diversity over and over again.
Yes. Local public transportation needs improvement. We did hear that quite a bit in terms of our focus group surveys and from just reviewing the transportation data.
Mental health services need to be prioritized. Surprisingly, we heard a lot of this through our focus groups, and much of the talk about mental health came from our senior population.
Yes. Residents would like to see meetings of the Township Council and other committees held at different times of day and virtually.
People enjoy the many community and cultural events held by the township. This just spoke again to the focus on diversity that they enjoyed.
There's a lack of knowledge and or understanding related to services available to those with disabilities, and that's not just within Franklin Township, but in Somerset County as a whole.
Respondents are satisfied with the availability of and access to parks and open space. There's over 9 public parks here, and they've found that they're easily accessible.
Environmental concerns, especially as they relate to health, are moving to the forefront.
Back, which harkened to number 3, specialized emotional and social services are needed for senior citizens. This was especially prevalent after the pandemic.
And residents would benefit from free or low-cost preventative screenings and medical attention. So as Safi mentioned, we're going to highlight some of the items that you see up there. And the first one is local public transportation needs improvement. So one of the questions that was asked as part of the survey is public transportation stops in my neighborhood at convenient times. And the bulk of the responses for that one question was strongly disagree. The focus groups, and every focus group that we had, regardless of the demographic makeup, regardless of how the focus group was held, people brought up that moving around in and around Franklin Township without having access to a private vehicle can be very difficult. The last mile, so basically making it from the train station or your bus stop to your actual destination, poses a problem. And this is really not just in Franklin Township. This really is in New Jersey, but, you know, we're talking about Franklin here. And the statistical data I'll spare you for right now, only because there's a lot of it. So some of the action items we came up with are working with RideWise more. RideWise is our local transportation management agency, and they provide a lot of services and guidance for plans to get the last mile transportation issues taken care of, or partnering carpoolers with people looking to, people that are doing carpool, and they have a lot of great ideas. So that's one resource we can work with. Talking to Somerset County to expand the Dash and Scoot service. That's the Somerset County Transportation Service. So seeing how that route could be expanded to better serve portions of Franklin that are underserved. And investigating the feasibility of a micromobility project. One thing that's interesting is that because we were working on this project, and because I work with the Environmental Commission heard this suggestion and actually wanted to start investigating it. So we're actually investigating it already to see if it can work for targeted portions of Franklin. So already the plan has kind of been helpful in that way. And micromobility, just quickly, is really using other types of non-motorized sources to kind of get in and around the township and to important places if you don't have a car or you prefer to take some other method.
Tara, sorry. I know Isles is piloting a program, I think.
Okay.
Not micromobility. Their focus is on EV, moving people through the city of Trenton.
Oh, great. Okay.
As you've
We'll look into
mentioned,
it.
it's
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yes.
But it might be something you would look at and see what Isles
Okay. Awesome.
successful.
Thank you. Yes, we absolutely will. That's a great recommendation. Okay. Let me move on to the next one. Okay. So the next one that we're focusing on is environmental concerns, especially as they relate to health, are moving to the forefront. So our survey showed that most Franklinites are not overly concerned with flooding in their neighborhoods. However, they are concerned with the ramifications that can come from flooding and repetitive loss and moving forward. So that was one thing to keep in mind. Participants are aware of the declining tree canopy due to overdevelopment and understanding how that impacts the population. And as I mentioned, the concern over environmental quality due to traffic emissions and warehouse development, that has also kind of come to the forefront as we move through our local health assessment. This has been backed up by statistical data. One major thing is the Office of the State Climatologist keeps records monthly of all of the temperatures, and we've had some of the highest temperatures recently, and that doesn't only affect, you know, the air quality and people's respiratory health, but one thing to keep in mind is higher temperatures actually will also heat up puddles and stormwater runoff, which runs into our main water bodies and actually heats the water body up that way as well. So even little things like that really are impacting our environmental features. So some of the action items that we proposed for this area is to begin restoring health equity through the implementation of environmental services. So that's planting trees, especially in wards 4 and 5, looking at areas that have larger portions of impervious coverage and focusing there, and planting native and pollinator plants. Another project that we're looking at right now is increasing green infrastructure strategies. We had a green infrastructure action plan completed in 2021, and we are implementing that, and that will help not only with capturing stormwater runoff, but also filtering it and creating more green spaces to work through this problem. Yeah, absolutely.
The good of, I guess, just the group, and I had to look up the date, but in released a report called Climate Change and Social Vulnerability in the United States, a focus on 6 align very much with what you're saying about how different demographics are impacted by just simple temperature, urban heat island effect. Good of those who are listening who are really curious about that type of stuff.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the sources that we used. So yeah, that's a great point, and it's really important, really, really important.
So while about 75% of our survey respondents said that they could easily access health care for their family or themselves, there was also a large portion that did not know how to access free and low-cost health and wellness resources in the area. Beyond that, there was a large portion that did not know if they could access mobile health services and preventative screenings. In talking about preventative screenings, we did see an uptick with our focus groups that talked about the importance of them. So there's that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and many of our focus groups were telling us that it was important to stop health issues before they started by going to regular screenings. So some of the action items that we focused on was partnering with our local hospitals. We mentioned here RWJ, mostly because they were on our steering committees and were able to provide some of their access, but it is important to note that St. Peter's as well is one of our local hospitals. Greater Somerset County Y, which was also a partner, they're able to organize mobile health screenings and have units come to places where people may not necessarily have transportation or where people are congregating and could better use those services. One of the other things we had noted is that mobile health screenings are only good if people can get to them. So looking for places where people regularly congregate, supermarkets, churches, parks, community parks. There's a saying, if Muhammad will not go to the mountain, then the mountain must come to Muhammad, but this way having these local health screenings pretty much everywhere, Muhammad can go get his blood pressure tested, right. The mountain can get their blood glucose levels done. So there is a focus on trying to bring these services that will ultimately impact the health of Franklinites directly to them. So these are some of the other notable issues that we found, and we're just kind of going to read through them. Respondents of the survey felt that they lacked knowledge on how to keep themselves and their families healthy. So education might be one of the action items that we talk about when just talking about general health for the township, they said not knowing is a barrier for people staying healthy within Franklin.
Respondents of this survey also stated there's a concern about affording healthy and nutritious food for their families. So this probably is indicative of a nationwide scale that's going on. It definitely could be focused on Franklin, but one thing to note is that part of the final part of the plan focuses on where grocery stores are in Franklin Township, what they sell, and if they accept SNAP EBT. So we have that information in the plan, and Franklin is very, has a lot of them, so, but still an issue.
There's a general sense of stress about lack of money and or difficulty keeping a steady job without decent pay. This is global.
Yes. Across all wards, most respondents to the community survey do not have an evacuation plan during emergency situations. This is really important. Not many people, I think, have an evacuation plan during emergency situations. And through one of our focus groups, we actually spoke to one woman who has a child with disabilities, cognitive disabilities. And I never even thought of this, but basically she said that getting emergency services even within of itself is difficult because having the emergency people come can be worrisome for the child or can make them upset or fearful. So that's really something to keep in mind.
Across all wards, most respondents to the community survey do not know who to contact for emergency housing if needed. Some of these resource guides that we talk about in some of our meetings probably have resources that we should have at some of our public events or community events, just so people have access to some of these emergency resources without necessarily having to go to the internet if you don't have it. So understanding what I can do when I'm doing well, just as well as understanding what I can do poorly, makes sense. So I hope that was not dizzying because Tara and I spent 3 hours on the phone trying to boil it down to just to give you an overview. I do want to stop before we do our thank yous and just talk about a quote from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It's their vulnerable populations portfolio, and it makes sense as far as understanding health access, and how we need to start rethinking about health. It says, stop thinking about health as something we get at the doctor's office, but instead as something that starts in our families, in our schools and workplaces, in our playgrounds and parks, and in the air we breathe and the water we drink. The more you see the problem of health this way, the more opportunities you will have to improve it. So I'm hoping that through this assessment, through all of the data that we've collected, and just through the stories of people that we've noted throughout this whole project, that we start to understand the problem of health, that we understand the opportunities, and then we can create projects. Tara said earlier that this is a foundational document, so it's not for one or two of us to kind of imbibe and then say we're going to run through it. This should be a foundational document for pretty much all of your groups, your organizations, your boards, your committees, to see, okay, what is my area of expertise and how can I apply that toward achieving health equity for my township?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that I think that covers it.
We just thank you to you guys for listening. Thank you for staying. Thank you to the steering committee, which
the steering committee was really helpful. We have some of our steering committee members here. Gary, Paul,
one of
Ted, Chase. Stan, I think Stan Yarek was on it. There are lots of people on it, but the steering committee really kind of helped shepherd us through this, and we presented them with a lot of information. They went to a training about how to hold a focus group, so that was really helpful, and so we really appreciate them.
One of the last tasks that we have for all of you actually is we have a letter of support. Now, Sustainable Jersey had originally just asked for a quick letter of support from one person, but we felt as if this was so important that everyone that hears it, we would hope that they would want to sign that letter of support. So it is on a table right outside here. Council, if you're willing to sign it today, I have a sheet just for you guys. But signing that letter of support will go to Sustainable Jersey along with the entire report. And it just shows that Franklin is on the same page with achieving health equity.
Oh, and let me say one last thing, which is that Franklin Township is already silver certified with Sustainable Jersey, but by completing this local health assessment and action plan and then implementing 3 of the projects, which we've already done 1 and 2 are underway, we get the gold star in health, which is not many, I don't know, you might know better than I do, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, not many have the gold star in health, so we might be one of the first ones to get it, which will be great. And so, yeah, so that kind of helps with our Sustainable Jersey, and this is worth 25 points for Sustainable Jersey as well, so.
So what project did we implement already?
One of the projects was doing education and outreach for, I forget which, we did something for, let me go back and see, I think it was
for the seniors,
Yes, it was something with the seniors we did, but it counted, Lauren told us from Sustainable Jersey, it counted towards it.
coming up with their,
The 5 wishes?
yeah, the 5 wishes.
Yes, the 5 wishes, yes. So that counts towards one. Investigating the micromobility study is the other one. And then implementing some of the green infrastructure, which we're already working on, is the third. That's underway. So
We could probably add a 4th, too, because the township is partnering with the Board of Education for the Health Center on
Right,
the middle
yeah.
school campus,
Yep,
which will be
we
open
can
to
do
the
that.
public with time
Yeah.
for those screenings that would be at a scale, sliding scale, no cost to some cost to full cost for
that would be
insurance.
great. That would be great.
I
Maybe they'll give us 2.
I want to give you guys a massive shout out because both Safi and Tara have been doing amazing work to put this together, and 168 pages to write just, the alphabet over and over again is exhausting, but based on research, talking to the community, and then justifying that against, reports and standards from the federal government and the state and the county, it's really exceptional, and it's great guidance for us as members of council as we look what we can do to improve our community and with that, improve people's health. And the disparity, I'll just make a personal comment, between Ward 1 and Ward 4, I think it was, that's 8 years in life expectancy. And, we can work to address each issue and extend that is pretty motivating. So thank you for that inspiration, too.
Thank you so much.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to read the report.
Thank you.
I'm glad you can. It's very lengthy, so. Thank you so much.
So,
Right.
Mr. Mayor, can I just say something?
Yes.
So for those of you who have children, you'll kind of understand what I'm about to say. So when you have children and they do something that is above and beyond what your wildest expectations might be, you're a very, very proud mama or papa. So I can get to be a very, very proud papa tonight.
Oh, Dad.
So Tara and Safi came to me, what seems like not that long ago, but was several years ago, and said, do you think that we could do this? And I said, well, I know that you can do it, but do you think that you're going to want to do it? And early on, what I found was that certain things become passions in life, and this became a passion of these 2 ladies here today. And I'm very, very proud of the product. I got to see it. See, I get to see things sometimes before everyone else, and I got to see this. And when I saw it, I was just utterly amazed at the amount of work that got put into this project by these 2 ladies. They never cease to amaze me. I'm very, very proud of them. I'm very, very lucky to have them as part of my staff, and they know that how I feel about them. But you see what they did here tonight is a labor of love, and I know that, and I am eternally grateful to have people like the 2 of you work for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Now the meeting
Thank you.
starts.
All right.
The business.
On
Now the
to,
boring part of the meeting.
on to the item number 11, approval of the minutes. There are no minutes to approve. Approval of the warrants, number 12, in the amount of $15,902,084.69 on December 12th, 2023, are presented to Township Council for payment. Do we have a motion on the warrants?
I move that the warrants as read be paid.
Second.
Moved in second. And any discussion? Anyone like to pull an item? Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine. Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Item number 13, public hearing and adoption of ordinances on second reading. These ordinances were introduced at the last meeting. That was to let the public know that they were coming, and now is an opportunity for the public to comment before we vote on them finally. So ordinance 4423-23, an ordinance to acquire development rights by purchase or condemnation certain lands within the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, for the purposes of farmland preservation in the Township of Franklin pursuant to NJSA 40A 12 through 13A, known as Horse and Hay LLC Farm, located at Block 11.01, Lot 46, also known as 98 Copper Mine Road, is presented to Township, is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. To have motions open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open to the public on this item only. Same rules.
Yeah, Debbie Stewart, 2 Farrington Plaza. I don't know if you answer the questions here, but I had asked earlier and it wasn't completely answered. This particular property is zoned as what? And what would the potential development be on a property like this? I guess those are my 2 questions.
So I believe that this particular property is in the RR5 zone. The RR5 zone would allow for 1 house per every 5 acres. I believe this one is, I don't have the ordinance open in front of me. Does someone have it open that can tell me the number of acres here? Ordinance. 17. It's in that area. So it would be 2 to 3 houses to, and again, with a variance could result in more. So the development value is stripped from the overall value, and that's where the value of in this acquisition of $230,000.
Does this abut in any way that the grasslands
It's
there?
in close proximity to the, yes, it
Yeah.
does. It abuts the John Clyde Native
Right.
Grasslands Preserve.
Okay.
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Seeing no one else coming forward, Mayor, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this ordinance.
Second.
Those approved to closing public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed on this item. Do we have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Now we have to buy it. Ordinance 4424-23, capital ordinance providing for the acquisition of development rights for property known as Block 11.01, Lot 46, Horses and Hay Farm LLC, Farm dash 98 Copper Mine Road, in and by the Township of Franklin and the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, appropriating $230,100. Therefore, the Open Space Trust funds of the Township of Franklin to pay the costs thereof is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
So moved. Seconded.
Those that approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open to the public for this item only.
Seeing no one from the public coming forward, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So
moved.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
We have no ordinances on first reading. We can't have any because next meeting will be a different council in that Ms. Pruitt won't be out there and Mr. Karazi will be. So we're on to the consent agenda. Items A through Y, as listed in the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone like to pull an item or discuss an item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes?
Resolution 23477.
Item N. Yes, what about it?
Approving the 2024 Fire Commissioners District salaries.
Yes.
Is that a copy floating around here? I don't want to debate it or anything like that. I just wanted to state it, what exactly their salaries are. Most people don't vote in a fire district election. They just go by what is done. So I just wanted everyone to know that this is what you're going to pay them, but you don't vote on it, but you get mad about it.
Want me to read them, Mr. Mayor?
Whoever has them.
I got him.
You got them,
Anne Marie
right?
has it.
Go for it.
Fire District Number 1 is $8,500 for the commissioners and $9,000 for the chairman. Fire District Number 2 is $8,000 each commissioner. Fire District Number 3 is $8,160 each commissioner, and Fire District Number 4 is $300 each commissioner and $400 each officer.
So you see the disparity of what you're paying for, so I just want everyone to know, when you look at your tax bill and you see your fire district portion, nobody scream, because now you know you better vote.
Anyone else have an item? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Resolutions to be voted on separately. There are three, but we've already done one. So the first one, 23464, award competitive contract consult administrative agent for Affordable Housing Program 2024, Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, amount not to exceed $66,000. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Councilwoman Udine.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Abstain.
Councilman Wright.
And then item number C, Resolution 23491, authorize abandoned vehicle auction, Anthony Motors, January 22nd, 2024. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Barrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Petosnik.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt. Councilwoman Udine. Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
So there is no old business. We are now going to have an executive session. Well, I guess if everyone votes for it.
Mr. Mayor, can I, just a point of order for a question? Did we have a motion on the consent agenda? I don't remember. There was?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. the executive session, I present the following resolution to the Township Council for approval. Authorize executive session, attorney-client privilege, legal update. Do I have a motion to the executive session?
So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, we are going to go into executive session. There will be no business afterwards except to adjourn.